Hello viewers, welcome to yet another edition of Sunday Politics on Trust Television, coming to you from Abuja, the nation's capital. I am Ali M. Ali, your host. The season is here. The season of political campaigns is just a few days away. Expectedly, there are noticeable political realignments that are taking place nationwide. One such was the recent high-profile defection of former Kano State Governor, Senator Ibrahim Shekaru, from the New Nigeria People's Party to the People's Democratic Party, the PDP. His supporters say his exit has changed the dynamics of the impending election. That is actually a game changer at all levels. One interesting thing about Shekaru is he's one leg of the tricar that has superintended over the political landscape of the ancient state of Kano, or ancient city actually. The others are Rabi Musa Konkoso and Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, the incumbent governor serving out his last time in office. In the past, interestingly, two of these troika would team up and battle the third. Normally, the man calling the shots at the moment, the incumbent. However, and interestingly, the troika has split three ways. Now in the APC, the PDP, and the NNPP. Now, a lot of speculation as to the factor that will shape 2023 election in this scenario. What are the factors now that will shape the election easily in Kano, easily the most, if you like, bubbling state in the Northwest, and indeed the whole of the country. Tonight we'll be discussing the factors that will shape the 2023 election. Joining me to discuss the issues are Engineer Maazu Magaji, former Commissioner of Works and Infrastructure under the Ganduje administration. You're welcome.
Thanks for having me, Ali Amali. It's a pleasure to see you again.
Thank you. Well, we'll just go on a short break, and when we return, our guest would perhaps give us a bird's eye view of the factors that will shape the 2023 election in Kano. Stay tuned. Don't. Welcome back. Now, Engineer, what are give us a bird's eye view of the factors that will shape the 2023 election, given the background we just sketched now a while ago.
Thank you, and good day, viewers. And this is important discussion because Kano is changing its political dynamics. And when Kano shifts, the entire political structure of the country tends to move with it because it has been a determinant state due to its large population size in terms of voting population. As at the last record INEC showed, we have more than 6 million registered voters. 6 million registered voters, and if you take Kano in the Northwest with 22 million registered voters, the influence of Kano politics tend to ripple around the North and Northwest as well. So you've captured it quite correctly in your opening remark that Kano is a triangle of actors. And they have been playing this game since 1999. I mean, when Rabi Musa Konkoso emerged as a governor, he came along with Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, the incumbent governor today. They managed to structure a partnership, as you rightly said, any two that work together tend to take the crown. And Ganduje was deputy to Rabi Musa Konkoso for his first term and second term. However, a disruptor appeared that formed the third angle, which is Mala Ibrahim Shekaru, a public servant from a humble public service background, and true to the tradition of Kano, embraced him as a game changer, as you rightly said. And factors that led to that was basically political dynamics of the country that also affected northern Nigeria and affected the cultural and political situation of the people of Kano, namely the Sharia factor, the Obasanjo government, and the change dynamics that was coming with the Buhari entrance into the politics. So Ali Ibrahim Shekaru came and also won the election against an incumbent. That was 2003. That was very interesting dynamics at the time. Then a jinx was broken in 2007, where no sitting governor has successfully gotten a second term while in office. And Malam Ibrahim Shekarau basically delivered that performance. It was shocking, but not surprising, for two reasons. One, he was able to put a very formidable movement under the structure of his party. So there were two issues there. The party as a political
That's
entity.
the ANPP at the time.
The ANPP at the time.
Yes.
But he was heading a movement which is an alternative to Rabi Musa Konkoso's movement. So Kano is always dictator. So what we need to look at now, where are the undercurrents of the movements under this troika? I believe that when Malam Shekarau succeeded, he also did something very important. He administered his government with considerable freedom of the local governments. And many actors at the grassroots experienced real governance at that time. And the impact of his government was able to reach all the way to the grassroots. And therefore, a new crop of political actors were groomed under his leadership, and which up to today are committed and loyal to him. So coming back to PDP is a rebalancing of the politics of Kano, which was skewed when he moved to NNPP under Rabi Musa Konkoso. We have always wondered, how did Malam got his mathematics this wrong as a Malam teacher of mathematics?
Yes.
But then we now know he knew exactly what he was doing. He was testing the water, trying to see where the political balance is going, and when he found the equilibrium mathematically, he basically played the card, and it is now setting very well balancing Kano. We have Rabi Musa Konkoso in NNPP, you rightly pointed out, Abdullah Umar Ganduje in APC and heading a government, and we have Malam Ibrahim Shekarau bringing all his loyalists over time to PDP now. So now we are balanced. The next big catch is, what is the joker that this troika will have that will basically give each one of them an edge? Because you did mention something very important. Every time the two of them team up, they kind of succeed against one. But now they're all standing on their own.
Exactly.
And now we have to look at the undercurrent. What is the emerging political force?
Exactly, and that's why
equivalent.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Exactly. The emerging political force. You just rightly corrected, sketched this Shekarau's movement way back in 2003. How it upstaged a sitting governor, which was unheard of. The first time in the country. The first time a PDP sitting governor will be upstaged by a first-time challenger
with a central government at that time, as powerful as
But some
PDP.
people attribute that a dramatic upset, if you may, to perhaps beyond Shekarau, to the sack at the time, the Buhari mystique.
Correct, but you need to understand that it did not happen in Kaduna and Katsina, two sister states, and Jigawa that tend to behave in the same manner with Kano when political storm or tide is moving in a certain direction. So there is something in addition to the sack. I agree with you 100%. The Buhari factor, the sack factor contributed to upstaging the government of Rabi Musa Konkoso. But also, you need to understand that, like I said, there was a movement behind Malam Ibrahim Shekarau. The movement is to create an alternative establishment, conservative-based political order as against the progressive radical order that Rabi Musa Konkoso was heading. If you recall, if you step back, Kano is basically hinged on two very distinct political order. The Malam Aminu Kano progressive, slightly radical or extremely radical, which Abubakar Rimi inherited and run his government on.
Even that tendency was actually fractured along two leanings.
That's correct, the Tabo and the...
Exactly.
So what happened was when Malam Aminu Kano, basically the two disciples of Malam Aminu Kano, Abubakar Rimi and Sawaba Kinzo, represented two political tendencies by background, by training, by philosophy and ideological leaning. Abubakar Rimi basically projected the progressive tendencies, while Sawaba Kinzo came from the grassroots conservative establishment. and they coexist under the leadership of Malam Aminu Kano without conflict. But when they emerge as leaders by themselves, their own political tendencies manifested, and then the fracture happened.
Yeah.
And if you look at also Rabi Musa Konkoso and Malam Ibrahim Shekarau, they represent the same tendencies. Truly speaking, the radical, progressive component of the Kano politics reside with Rabi Musa Konkoso as he came back to emerge as governor 2011. That was the platform he used to take back government. And Malam Ibrahim Shekarau ran the establishment concept. They couldn't get a heir apparent of this establishment conservative political order to basically take the flag and challenge Konkoso himself. So, but now we have Malam Ibrahim Shekarau and we have Rabi Musa Konkoso. The question is, where does Abdullahi Umar Ganduje belong?
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Exactly.
Because if you say that Shekarau actually is a latter day conservative as represented in the past by Sawaba Kinzo or Abubakar Remi, now where do you place
Abdullahi Umar Ganduje? So it's an interesting journey with Ganduje.
Just hold that thought. We'll go on a short break, and when we return, we continue from where you stop. We always going to we take a quick break and then we come back. Stay tuned. Don't go away. Welcome back. You are watching Sunday Politics on Trust Television, and our guest is Engineer Maazu Magaji Dawa Kintofa, a former Commissioner of Works and Infrastructure and a leading light in the PDP in Kano. Now, before we went on break, you were saying that there will be undercurrent, a new, if you like, political order.
Yeah.
Perhaps we call that in Kano.
Correct.
Now, can you elaborate on that?
So this is what happened. Today's election, as we are facing 2023, will be determined by the leadership of these three actors. But this is their last game. I can assure you of that. For two reasons. One, time. Time leaves nobody on a permanent space of action. So their time, they have played their role, they have exercised their authority, they have benefited immensely from the political dividend of Kano politics. They have become everything they wish to become in Kano, and none of them will contest for governorship of Kano again. And leading Kano politics means you have to be the arrowhead of searching for the leadership of Kano as a governor. So since none of them is going to be a gubernatorial candidate because of the constitution, they can only attempt to put their surrogates. And that is where the challenge comes.
Yeah,
the history of Kano has shown that even when you are a sitting governor, endorsing a surrogate candidate that did not emerge from a democratic process that people chose always comes with a challenge. We have not yet had a successful implant of a puppet governor or a surrogate governor, because Kano people do not like to be dictated to, do not like to be controlled, neither do they like an individual that does not control his environment as a leader, but has a remote control from somewhere.
No,
we are abhorrent to that type of arrangement.
Maazu, how would you then explain how Ganduje was literally handpicked by Konkoso?
Oh, when we started this discussion, we traced the history of Ganduje to the Abubakar Remi function. Yeah. He actually contested the election. Today, if you speak to Ganduje, he will tell you, I won 1999 primaries, but I was rigged out. But because of peace and success of the party, we decided to team up with Rabi Musa Konkoso. And he justifiably put forward, I have been loyal and committed partner to Konkoso. And when it is time for him to be the candidate, the justification to deny him the ticket was not there, except for Rabi Musa Konkoso's desire to transit the state to a different political order. Knowing who Ganduje was in his political journey, he knew very well that the possibility of this conflict that has happened was very real and possible. And therefore he attempted to. I personally participated in the 2015 primaries. I mean, the aspiration to become the candidate, but after some resolution within our own movement, the Konkosia movement, we all came down to the conclusion, if Rabi Musa Konkoso decide whoever amongst us will be the candidate, we will support and back the candidate because of the unity of the movement. And we did that. How did Ganduje become candidate? It's a matter of discussion. A lot has happened and there is a lot of things to investigate. I think it would be very nice for us to have another session to discuss that.
Yeah.
Because the undercurrent of the dynamics that led to his emergence, it's a completely different game. And history will basically record that. But when he became, immediately he became, before he even became elected, the split basically appeared in the campaign
before
trail.
the election?
Oh yes, if you are part of the team, you will have known that the campaign train basically became two teams. The governor sitting in government house and the candidate leading his own campaign in his own home.
Yes.
In his Miango Road home, personal home. So you could see that the government has split already. And it was silent and quiet and we managed, but eventually the crack appeared. We know it will appear, and that's why we offered an alternative. And the alternative we offered at that time was the Lagos model. We do not aspire to be political leaders of that time. We aspire to be development leaders of the state after Rabi Musa Konkoso, so that Konkoso will continue to be the political leader of the movement, just like Tinubu did in Lagos. So the successive governors in our movement that share the ideology of progressive politics and development of people and the state will continue to lead the state, and we will modernize the state and bring it to a certain level. But Ganduje's candidature takes the journey to a completely different space, to where he came from. And he run it on his own account, on his own template. But coming back to when Shekaro actually decide now to leave, to sacrifice his Senate ticket, this is very important decision. The weight of this decision is so important that, you know, there is this house saying, the wulak and chigara shahada. That is, instead of you going into a place where you are not valued, you better sacrifice everything and live with dignity and respect. I think that was the decision.
But liberty is better than fast slavery.
Liberty, exactly. So basically that's the literal translation of it. Now, when he did that, his base resurged and came back to life. Because now there is self-respect and ownership. And PDP happened to be the only formidable space in Kano without a head that is seen above the water.
Yeah.
So if you look at Kano from Abuja or from anywhere in Nigeria, you will see Konkoso, you will see Ganduje, and you will start asking, where did Malam go? What happened to Malam Shekaro?
Is that strategic or an accident of history?
No, for me, I think it is because of their journey. They managed to attain the leadership structurally and administratively that led them to lead this triangle. It is basically a destiny, because once you become governor in Kano, you become a political leader. There is so much goodwill attached to the government when you administer it well. When you mismanage it, you will reap the benefit or lack of benefit of your management or mismanagement. But Shekaro did what we said he has done, grassroots politics and empowerment through local government administration, the autonomy and the money. But now, like I said, time does not give them the opportunity to perpetuate this leadership. What will happen next is simple. There is Konkoso trying to put a puppet governor. There is Ganduje who, through some form of dynamics, adopted his deputy. I was absolutely very sure his initial plan was not that. But destiny and political dynamics and mishandling of his political structure led to his loss of control of his own politics and led to the emergence of his deputy. Just like he did to Konkoso. His deputy was wise and super patient. He learned from his boss.
He lied low,
He lied
in other
low
words?
And practiced the Likimo methodology.
the Likimo model now.
Yes, he learned from his boss. And he emerged.
Is he up the ante now? When he learned that, did he take it to a higher level?
I think he is now playing a different game, which is stakeholders management. He is more amiable to the stakeholders. He is reaching out. I think his deficit is the political structure that he is contesting on.
Well, given the leniency itemized,
yes.
where would you place the
candidates.
Yes. Why would you place him? Because he was one of the.
So he is
Yeah.
he is a conservative establishment politician. If you recall, he was with Malay Ibrahim Shekaru.
Exactly.
So he is a chip off the block of Malay
Of the old
Shekaru.
block.
And I can tell you, I will not be surprised. Today, I will tell you, I will not be surprised that when the chips are down, when the push comes to shove, the decision of two of these blocks teaming up against one is very possible in Kano.
Which of the troika now?
Well,
Which of the legs
for
of
now
the
you have to look at the relationship between who is who. What is the relationship between Kwankwaso and Ganduje? Very sour.
Well, you would know because incidentally at a point you've worked with all of them.
I have worked for both of them.
Yes.
They were all
you
my
were a
bosses.
commissioner on
I
that,
was a
and
commissioner
then
under Ganduje, and I was project special assistant
precisely to the president.
Kwankwaso.
Yes.
And
okay.
I mean, when I left President Jonathan, I went straight into Kwankwaso's government. Yeah. So I was mentored, I was trained by Kwankwaso, his politics and his government. I learned quite a lot from him. The only thing I disapproved is after he became a little more advanced and more accomplished politician, he changed his political ideology from the progressive champion of Kano politics that give the liberty and the opportunity for anybody, any son of the masses that have the ability, the knowledge, the capacity, the wisdom, the exposure, and the relationship to lead people can become a leader. That was what happened to him, and that was what happened to Abubakar Rimi. That is the school of thought he basically became a leader of. But after realizing he became a rural aristocratic tendencies returned to him and now started converting the political space to an autocratic space where basically you can dictate whoever you want to become anything.
But that is the recipe for defeat. You just said in the course of this
so why
discussion.
Do you think
yes.
2019 was lost by Kwankwaso and his people? It is exactly this. Let me tell you, Kwankwaso have no reason to get 1-point-something million in Kano. At that time, we had more than 2.5 million registered members of Kwankwasia. It's very easy to get 2 million votes. But that decision to take his ill-law to become the candidate and to impose him without process, that led to disaffection in the Kwankwasia movement.
Were you disaffected by that?
I not only disaffected by, I also voiced it. I left the movement. That was the point I left. Because I said to everyone that cares, including himself, that you see, you taught us progressive politics of respecting the capacity of individual to become anything. That is democracy. That is the basis of our movement. You've pointed finger many times to Buhari, Muhammadu Buhari as president, that he has brought his clan, his people around him, and they have invaded the government and led to his failures in many sectors of the government. But now you are also bringing your own clan, you are bringing your own people, and you are not following due process. I am saying you are living exactly what you have taught us. And I cannot continue in this school because I believe that what I am learning, I understand it well, and what I am saying with you is not what you taught me. So I cannot do what you are asking me to do now. It's against what you taught me. Now, the second thing to also understand is simple, that when the split between Ganduje and Kwankwaso happened, it was not based on ideological split. It was not. It was based on the power sharing arrangement that Ganduje basically reneged on.
Yeah.
It was very clear to us that the degeneration of political ideology began at that point when the decision to bring Ganduje as a candidate. And remember, he was never a progressive politician.
Yeah.
So immediately he became the candidate.
Going by arguments, he played politics of convenience.
Correct.
You know,
so
metamorphosing from the right wing
that will give him advantage.
Yes.
And that was it. Immediately he took the advantage of becoming the candidate. Even Rabi Musa Kwankwaso himself started compromising those progressive ideals just to be sure that he can
maintain his hold.
Exactly. If he had retained those progressive ideals, there is no way Ganduje will have come back second time. But because of those compromises he made, he lost those ideals and the movement that built it, and Ganduje gained advantage despite all his liabilities in the politics of Kano and still emerged.
If he broke ranks,
yes.
if you broke ranks with Rabiu Kwankwaso now,
correct.
How come you accepted to serve as a commissioner under Ganduje?
So it's a very
Because you clearly, your political persuasion and that of Ganduje
completely different.
Completely.
And to tell you the honest truth is when I was nominated to become commissioner, Rabi Musa Konkoso basically said, well, it's a matter of time. They cannot coexist together. I know them very well. I know Ganduje, I know you. Magaji, and Mazu cannot coexist with Ganduje. They are two different people in ideology and in principles and in their politics. And true, prophetically, we could not coexist together. But how did we even come together?
Exactly, that's the question. A lot of people are yet to understand how. Yes.
Because of that decision,
coming from the same local government.
Correct. Absolutely.
Yes.
And we have had our divey in the local government even before.
Long before you became.
Long before.
That's why it came as a surprise that you chose to serve, because I remember very well.
We were never in the same camp.
Precisely.
And he has been struggling to win election in the local government with young people that we mobilized, defeating him every election cycle until we came together. This is on record. Every Dawakintopa citizen knows this. However, when Rabi Musa Konkoso broke his own political principle and picked his Illo as a candidate and said we picked him.
Yeah, exactly.
And we said no, we didn't. And we are not happy. So myself and quite a number of his political pillars broke rank. If you recall, we visited Muhammadu Buhari, he received us in the villa, and we said to him, we are coming back to APC because we were in APC.
Exactly.
But we are going to work only for you, sir, in Kano, because the Kano political actors, especially the party chairman and the governor, are not in the same political mold with our beliefs. And President Buhari said, it's not going to be that way. If you are coming back to APC, then I will expect you to work for me and also work for the party members that are contesting, because politics is local.
Yes.
And he looked at Governor Badaru and said, you have to make sure they work with their governor. And he did that.
Yes.
And we went back and worked together.
Yes, because of time, I just want you to take look at your party now in Kano. That is the People's Democratic Party.
Yes.
Where even the gubernatorial candidate, some issues of litigation now.
Correct.
Now, you didn't mention that from the outside, you can see only two legs of the triumvirate. Now, but in PDP, it's not so. No one is a shoulder above the other.
Correct.
Almost a movement kind of thing.
Correct.
Now, how do you see that playing out now? Because the PDP now, with the flag bearer now, the standard flag bearer, if the litigation now, how do you see what's...
So first of all, there was some conflict before INEC declared who is the candidate.
Yeah.
Right now, I can assure you that both the party and INEC have declared Sadiq Wali as the candidate of PDP in Kano. Now, there were functional primaries, which I did not participate. I participated in the party primaries that was managed by PDP, and that is where Sadiq Wali emerged as a candidate. So it's our function that is now recognized by the party and by INEC. However, our friends and colleagues, Mohamed Abacha and Jafar Sanibello, went to court. This is normal in a democracy, especially if the party is potentially capable of springing a surprise and a victory. That's where you get all this complaint. Nobody cares if the party is dead. What you are seeing is a sign of life. And you mentioned something. PDP is now like a movement. Why are we in PDP? It is the place where democracy exists. It's a place where you can aspire. Even Sadiq Wali, that people are accusing, is the son of Ambassador Wali, who is a BOT chairman of went through rigorous primaries with us. I am a witness. He was sweating. He never knew what the outcome would be. But he succeeded and got the ticket, and we became loyal and committed to his success. Now, since Shekaro is now in PDP, and the movement of young actors in PDP, that is where I keep saying to you, where is the game changer? Who will help any of this troika become successful?
Well, we just have to end it. Yeah, we just have to end it there with that rhetorical question.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Engineer Maazu, for coming to our studios.
Thank you so much.
We all will come to the end of today's program. See you another time. Goodbye.